Are we ready? Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm Steve Bowman, and I call the meeting of the Trophy Club Zoning Board of Adjustment to order at 6 p.m. If anyone would like to speak to the board on any item that is not on the agenda, please fill out a public comment form and hand it to Alicia. If you would like to speak on a public hearing item, an opportunity to be presented during that time. The board is not permitted to discuss or take action on any presentations made concerning matters that are not listed on the agenda. Tonight's regular items are board training by Tammy Dixon, our town secretary. We're going to do that now?
Yep.
Okay.
Good evening. Bear with me. Our town manager, Brandon Wright, had another event that he had to attend to this evening, and we've been attending every board and commission meeting this year, and we'll have every board finish through December doing basic training. Once I finish the basic training, Matt will get up and give some more specific training relative to your board. And then following your next meeting, it'll just be, you won't have to sit through this again, since you're the same body. The first thing I'd like to do is just introduction of members, since it's been a while since you've met. Yeah, I'm Tammy Dixon, your town secretary. And if you'd just like to introduce yourself and just maybe state like how long you've lived in Trophy Club.
Doug Harper, lived here about 12 years.
Steve Bodecker, and I grew up in Trophy Club, went away, and came back.
Good evening, I'm Steve Bowman, and I've lived here 5 years.
Good evening, I'm Aaron Ross. I've moved my family here about 2.5 years ago.
And Reed Burley, and I've been here since 2018.
Do we have any alternate members? Okay. All right, we will go ahead and start. Okay, pretty much the purpose of this is to go over roles, meeting agendas, rules, parliamentary procedure, attendance, conflicts of interest, training, town email, boards and commission manual, and then to answer any questions if you have any. So first of all, the roles, the town manager, Brandon Wright, assigns your staff liaisons. In that role, the liaison is here to help your agendas, to help get things on the agenda, to get you through the process, but the liaison doesn't work for you, it works for the town manager. They also provide support staff with Alicia here doing the minutes. The chair and vice chair, later this evening, the town council appoints the chair of this board, and then the board will vote for its own vice chair. Your positions for chair and vice chair take effect at the beginning of the year, and they're only good for 1 year and expire September of the following year. The chair presides over the meetings. In the absence of the chair, the vice chair will preside over the meetings. In the event that the chair and vice chair are both absent, then the members present, and if you have the alternates and you have a quorum, you will vote amongst yourself who will open that and preside that meeting for that night. Alternates, your alternate roles, there's 5 members and 4 alternates. The alternates will act in the absence of a member, and it will start with alternate 1. So if alternate 1 is unable to serve, then they'll go to alternate 2 and so on. Responsibilities. So representation, avoidance of contacts and individual discussions, and authority of board members. Pretty much representation of the board together as you are a body. Individually, you can't speak for the board. The only time you have power is when you come together and you have a quorum of your group. Avoidance of contacts of individual discussion members. It's if people have social media accounts, you have your Facebook. If you're posting things on there, you can post individually as a resident or a citizen or a person, but if you're posting things, well, I'm on the Zoning Board of Adjustment, and this is my opinion or my stance on this item, that's what we are asking that you avoid, because nobody can represent the town, except for we have a communications department, our town manager, that handle those things. And again, you can't represent only when you're together here as a body. Being an effective board member, so this is being prepared, looking at your agenda items. We try to get the agendas out by state law, we have to have the agendas posted 72 hours in advance. Since Brandon's arrived, our council packets, they're should be posted on Friday for the council meetings on Monday. We're posting those on Wednesday. So we're trying to push that forward with all of our other boards and commissions to allow members of the public and to allow the board members enough time to review the information, the material that's in the packet. Know the law, it's the training. If you have questions, ask Matt. He can help you get the answers. If you have any questions on any of the items that are coming up or any other matters that are relating to the board. Maintain focus, be courteous. I think everybody here is being courteous, letting one member speak, letting them finish, and respecting everybody's opinions and comments. Be punctual. We've had some meetings where we've waited that let your staff liaison know if you're not going to make a meeting or if you're going to be late. We pay for the meetings to be broadcast. This is one of the meetings. Building standards are a few of those boards that we broadcast live. If we don't have a quorum, then we have to cancel the meeting and schedule for another day. Also send out additional public notices and things of that nature. Active participation. So again, when it's your discussion, if you have something to say, the presiding officer will recognize you and make sure that you state your opinions. The council's really honed in this year that we get the participation from the board members and want them to be active in all discussions made. Again, watch, listen. You can go back and look at previous board meetings, your packet, and again, any questions that you have. Meetings and agendas. So again, we post the agendas 72 hours in advance. The agenda, you have your call to order, public comment, which is required by law. And Trophy Club's a little bit different. State law says you only have to allow public participation at one time. Our charter says that the citizens have a right to speak during the meeting on any agenda item that the council and or any of our boards take action on. So that you had your public comment at the beginning, and then during the public hearing process, citizens have an opportunity to speak during that time as well. Also, during public comment, it is not a question and answer period. It's not for a person to come up and ask you individual questions. It's to come up to state their comments, ask questions in general. Then once the public hearing's closed, the presiding officer or staff member or appropriate board member can answer those questions. But it's not a debate between the governing body and the audience. The governing body is here to make a decision on that and work with the applicants and to work with staff to get those questions. And if people come up to speak, they've changed the rules. We're coming out with new council rules and regulations. Members aren't required to fill out the public speaker card, but we're requesting that every member that come up fill out the speaker card or state their name and address for public record. Regular items, typically your regular items are going to be the minutes, but most of your items are going to be public hearings, which I don't have this on this slide for you, but pretty much on the public hearings, the process is your presiding officer will open the public hearing. You'll state the time. The staff member will give their report. Then the applicant will have an opportunity to come up and give their report. Then at that time, the presiding officer will ask if there's any members of the public that want to speak in favor and or in opposition of an item. Then the public hearing will be closed. At that time, the public comment stops. The board can have discussion. Staff can answer questions. You can ask questions of the applicant. And then it'll be time to make a motion. Once a motion is made, all discussions stopped. You'll have your second and vote on the item. And what Brandon has told everybody, the favorite part of your agenda is to adjourn the meeting, which will probably be tonight since it's such a long agenda. Parliamentary rules of procedure, we don't expect you to know all of that. We're working with staff and training them and getting the process for amendments and motions and things of that nature. So pretty much once you have your hearings tonight, after the discussion, someone will make a motion. If nobody has a second, that motion dies. If there's a second, then you can have deliberation, and then someone can amend their motion. So after having that discussion, then the procedure to that is that somebody would make a motion to amend that motion. The next process would be a second to amend that motion, then there'd be a vote on the amendment. Then the board would have to go back to the main motion and vote on that as amended. Or if the amendment didn't pass, then it would be the original motion that was on the floor. During any of this time, if something gets chaotic or if you don't understand, you can stop and say, I don't understand, can you please clarify? Because if you don't understand, the audience probably doesn't understand, and staff probably doesn't understand. We need to get back and look at the process to make sure those motions are being voted on appropriately. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. I've gone through some of the past minutes, and there were 3 pages from a past council meeting. They probably had 20 amendments. And I followed it through. It was so confusing, but they followed every step. It just gets a little bit confusing. You have an item and you don't have enough information. So you have a case and you just can't, you need more information from the applicant, you can move to postpone. Especially during a public hearing, you would postpone to a certain date. That way, the public notices do not have to be re-advertised. Your public hearing's been opened, postponing it to a certain date, and then at that next date and time, you will continue that public hearing.
Question?
Yes.
Is there a time limit or expected time that you can delay or?
Typically, what has happened in my experience is you postpone it to your next scheduled meeting. So then you would need to decide at that time to postpone it to a date. So since you don't meet regularly,
Yeah.
if you postponed one of your items tonight, you would need to decide on that date and work with Matt and then give you some dates, and that would be the date of the hearing. If for some reason, following the meeting and you couldn't get a quorum, then we would have to republish all the documents and then have a new public hearing. So it would start all over.
Thank you.
Attendance for the meetings, again, like I spoke earlier, it's very important that you attend, or if you're not able to attend the meeting, to let Matt or Alicia know, so we can get alternates. Again, the council tracks also your attendance. This board doesn't meet that often, but when you meet, you sure have long agendas. Conflicts of interest. So pretty much the example we use, if you had a case coming before you tonight and you had an interest in that item, if you were owner, if it was your spouse, if it was your son, your daughter, you would need to let Matt know in advance. We would fill out a conflict of interest form, which has to be notarized, and we put that on file. When that item comes up, let's say it was the second item on the agenda, and I'm going to pick on Steve. So it's the second item on the agenda. You'll note that Chairman Bowman has a conflict of interest on this item. He will get up and not only get down from the dais, you will leave the room altogether. You'll go out in the lobby, and you won't be in any discussion. You won't hear what's happening in that meeting. When that item is finished, then you'll come back into the room, and then you'll take over and continue the meeting from that point. External training opportunities, typically when board members are appointed, we'll send out any links to training that we have. If we have budget items or if there's things that come out through the year, we'll do additional external training. We may, in the future, there's been other communities that I've worked in where we've worked and had joint meetings with other cities where we bring in the attorneys and do some heavy-duty training, and so you can get some of your questions asked, since this is a quasi-judicial board. One of the things being a quasi-judicial board, any of your decisions cannot be appealed to town council. They get appealed to a district court, which Matt will go over more in your board-specific training. Media relations, social media, kind of talked about this earlier. If you get contacted by the media or posting things on Facebook, you refer them back to Matt and or the town manager or our communications department. You're not authorized to speak by yourself on behalf of the board or any cases. Town email. Each of you received a town email account. We cannot stress enough to use that email account. Staff has been directed to no longer email stuff to your personal email accounts. If you have any issues with that, please contact me or Matt. Will work with our IT department to make sure that you are getting your town emails. We also do this to protect you. because all of your emails are open to the public. So if somebody comes in, or if we get my office gets an open records request for all the emails from Aaron, between Aaron and Steve on an item, or all the board members for a certain amount of time, we have access to the town email account, and we could access all of those and comply with the request. If they're on your personal email account, you're going to have to share that information with us, and we're going to have to look through all your emails and figure out what's town business or not. If you get emails on your personal, we just strongly recommend that if somebody emailed you on your personal email about a town business, they say, I'm going to forward this to my town email account and respond. So forward it to your town email and then respond to whoever in that fashion. Again, it's to protect you and to help staff in fulfilling any of those questions if they come in. The town council adopted a new boards and commissions manual, and each of you should have received that. Did everybody get theirs?
Was it via email?
Yes. If you didn't, I can go ahead and I'll send it out. I sent it to all boards and commission members, but I'll make a note to send it to this board again.
Thank you.
Do you have any, I ran through this kind of quick. Do you have any questions? All right, thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Matt now. Went faster to think of all your cases.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay. Most of y'all know these, and I'm not going to spend too much time, but at any time, just stop if you got questions. Some of these may trigger, like, give me an example of a case or whatever, and we can go over that. ZBA, again, it is quasi-judicial body established under Chapter 211, Texas Local Government Code, authorized to make special exceptions to the terms of the city ordinance, zoning ordinance, consistent with its general purpose and intent. As Tammy said, it does consist of 5 regular members, 2 alternates. It is important for us to try to have 5 up here. As you know, we've had those evenings where it's 4. You just have one person that votes no or one person that votes yes. It opens up better discussion the more that we have here. And as long as I have plenty of heads up, then I can reach out to other alternates just to make sure that they're here. Appointed by council for 2 years, chairperson selected by town council. Tonight we'll vote on a vice chair. Selected by the board, presiding officer may administer oaths and compel attendance of witnesses. I've only seen one attorney do that. Hear and decide appeals, authority. Hear and decide appeals alleging errors in administrative decisions. So that could be, because I'm also acting building official. I tell a developer or a builder, absolutely no way, you are not doing that. He can appeal that. The appeal process then would come to you. Authorize variances from zoning ordinances in specific cases. Hear and decide special exceptions as outlined in the zoning ordinances. We have those this evening. Address other matters as authorized by city ordinances. Special exception. Cite specific permission outlined in a zoning ordinance. So that's going to be, like for this evening, it's specific to that address. So we're not talking about the entire area or the street or all of, R12. It's specific to the applicant on this case. A variance, approval to deviate from zoning requirements due to unnecessary hardship. Conditions for variances include financial cost of compliance, property loss, and unreasonable encroachments. We have that this evening. This was perfectly set up, all these things. Meetings are held on an as-needed basis. As y'all know, when did we meet last? February, something? So, January? Yeah. All meetings are subject to the Texas Open Meetings Act. A quorum, at least 75 members, must be present. So there's our 4 members. And and decisions require a supermajority vote, 75% of members, 4 members. Decisions can be appealed to a state, district court, or county court of law. So if one of the applicants, they want to appeal the decision this evening, it does not go to council, it would go to Denton County Court or the clerk. So it'd be out of the town's hands at that point. The petition must state that the decision was illegal and specify grounds, and the ZBA decisions must be within authority granted by law and cannot amend ordinances. Responsibility and records, so Alicia and I do this, we'll go, after the meeting or tomorrow, go and rewatch, record minutes and meetings of the proceedings. Decisions must be documented with clear findings and conclusions, and records must be filed and are subject to the Public Information Act. All right.
I wanted to add one item that I missed on communications with each other and with your email. One of the things is you need to be careful of, again, I'll pick on Steve Bowman, if you have a case that you have your agenda packet and then you email Reed, and what do you think about this? And Reed's like, well, I'm going to email Doug. You've just created a daisy chain and you've violated the Open Meetings Act. So we ask that you don't email each other about things on the agenda or any topic or any matter that would become before the board. Another example is if it's a small town. So if Reed's in the grocery store and Aaron shows up and you guys are talking and you're talking about school or whatever, and Steve Bodecker comes in, there's 3 of you, and then Doug shows up, you're fine if you're talking about groceries, the 4th of July event, anything that's coming on. But the second you start talking about business of the Zoning Board of Adjustment, you violated the Open Meetings Act. So I just wanted to add
Yeah.
that on.
Yeah, that's
And that's
correct.
a felony.
And it is a penalty.
Yes, and that's correct. So once, like Tammy had mentioned earlier, you get 4 of you, that's a quorum, that's an acting body of the decision. We've seen, and I will say, so this evening or on Monday, we did send, the packets out to all of your town emails. We don't know if you're getting those emails, so we did send to each of your individual emails. And of course, I'm also texting, did you get it? Are you going to be here tonight? That stuff. So moving forward, if you have any issues with town email, I need to know that because that's where those are going. And we'll be blind carbon copying just in case you happen to hit reply all back. That will help with that as well.
Can I ask a question on
Yeah.
that? I mean, as we've shared, it's so infrequent that we have the meetings. Therefore, if we don't have any emails in a long time, do we know that the email is working?
Yeah.
Because my email worked in January, and then just recently when I went back to it, I was like, oh, it's not working again.
Or password change, or so,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I keep y'all's cell phone numbers handy to where I can say, hey, do you have any questions? Did you get the packet? Is there anything? I know Doug likes to come up and get one, printed. So I'll stay in communication, and y'all have got my number too as well.
Okay.
And I'll check with our IT department because that is different for this board because you don't meet on a regular basis. And if there's a way, I know there's a few members that if you can set up your email to have town email forwarded to your personal account. That way you get notice. Another way to get notified of meetings, if you go to the town's website, and I can send you each instructions, but that goes for anybody in this room, with our new software that we launched this year, you can go in and you sign up. And you sign up to receive these agendas, town council, any board that you want. That way, that goes to your personal email. So when we post, you can sign up to get notices when the agenda is posted, if it's been modified, when the minutes are posted. And so anytime there's a change to that meeting on that website, you'll get an email that says, hey, there's been an agenda posted, there's been minutes posted. So that's a secondary way of knowing that an agenda's been posted. But I know Matt will have reached out to each one of you before setting that date. But I'll work with our IT, and if there's something we can do to extend those passwords because they do expire
Yeah.
from time to time to help you guys out on that.
Appreciate that.
You bet.
All right, any questions?
I got one quick question. In regards to minutes, could our minutes be posted online before they're approved? In other words, you could send out a draft minutes of this meeting, and 6 months from now, we wouldn't have visibility to it unless it's posted.
The minutes are, well, they're included in your agenda packet
Yeah.
and are posted the next day after the board approves them.
Right, what I'm asking, could they
Like
be?
tonight.
Could they be posted prior to being approved?
We could, it wouldn't be posted on our website where the minutes are because minutes are not posted until, they're not official until they're approved by the body. And I understand that since the last, because you don't meet so frequency, I know that we do a recap for town council. So we can talk with the town manager and see if we can do a recap of this meeting like we do for town council and post that. That way at least people know what happened, but it's not official, again, until this body approves those minutes.
Yeah, that would be
But
perfect.
again, as infrequently as you meet, so you bring up some great questions for us to consider on how we can handle that.
Yeah, and I mean, in hindsight, I mean, you never know, but if we had known that we were going to go for 9, 10, 11 months, we could have had another meeting in February to approve those minutes. So,
Sure.
And that was one of our reasonings. Had you not had these cases tonight on this agenda, we still would have had a meeting before the end of December because there are some boards that meet, like the Ethics Commission had never met since I started. And so council, Brandon and I worked together and said, all right, we're going to make every board have a meeting if it's just training. And so we can introduce and let you know that your role is important, but again, you're not meeting on a regular basis unless required to. So we'll make it a point that if you don't have another case for a year, you're still going to have another meeting next October with myself and or Brandon for training.
yeah.
Will there be an attorney at each one of our meetings? Okay, no?
There have been occasions where we've asked, them to come, depending on what it was. On Building Standard Committee, we had one as well on one of our meetings, so,
That can keep us out of trouble sometimes.
yeah. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is to consider the election of a vice chair. Everyone's heads down. Do we have any nominations for this extremely challenging position?
Steve, I'll step up to the plate here.
Well, I appreciate that, Rhett.
Second.
Okay, so we have a nomination, self-nominate, I guess you have to nominate, Rhett.
He can nominate himself.
He can nominate himself. We got a second. All in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I promise to be here.
I appreciate that.
On to the meat of tonight's agenda. Case number ZBA-24-002, 2517 Aspen Drive. Conduct a public hearing and consider action regarding a request made by Drees Custom Homes LLP for a variance to allow for a fence to be extended along the side of the property to the building line at the property line of the side yard adjacent to a side street at 2517 Aspen Drive, Trophy Club, Denton, Texas. Time being 6:29, I open the public hearing.
All right, good evening. Okay, we've all heard the phrase, sometimes a picture's worth 1,000 words. On my staff reports on a lot of these, when they got to 2 pages, I said, you know what, we're going to use pictures and questions on these because they're hard to explain in words. So we've got here, and just as a side note, so Drees, they do have a representative. Mike Job is here. He's one of the division presidents, and y'all have probably seen him in some previous meetings. But we've got a very unique house, very unique lot. It's one of the gas well sites. It's actually one of the very first ones. They're Aspen Estates. Y'all probably recall it as 8H. So they built the house, and the way that it's set up, and I'm going to use my cursor, if y'all can see this. So this is the front of the house. So when you pull into Aspen, here's the backyard. You come down Aspen and off to your left, that's the side of the house. So from our perspective, when we get permits, we get fence permits, we get house permits, we're looking at the letter of the law. And what it states is side yards adjacent to a side street has a certain rule. And I'm going to read it. Side yard fences shall be located within the side yard building setback and shall not extend beyond the building line of the side yard adjacent to a side street. So what that really means for this particular lot and this particular location is that fence should go from here to that corner, and that's it. Because that's your build line. They built the house directly on that build line, which is basically it's this line all the way down. And so by the letter of the law, that fence in red here goes from here, and then it should turn and go right to this corner, and that's it. So I'm going to give you a quick background. About a month and a half ago or so, give or take, I pull in there, and if you see the blue line, the only reason we've got this blue line represented is this is what I saw that triggered me making a phone call to Dries and saying, wait a minute. So they had already put up a wrought iron fence along that, where that blue line is, and it was going down the sidewalk and then across the front yard. They were going to have a gorgeous wrought iron gate that opened up for the driveway, continue on and whatever. That's going to maximize the most amount of yard you could have in this house. And I'm going to let Mike delve into some of the background with that original homeowner. But I basically said, you cannot do that. And we're not going to even be able to do final inspections on this house unless that's, taken down. So they did. So that's what triggered, that's why they're here tonight. So their request, well, and I'll let Mike also, they would ultimately love to put that fence back where it was, along that blue line. So that's your plan, that's gonna be the first request. The second is, this is what staff is supporting, is this red line here, is also the utility easement line. So if you look right, so from the red line to the blue line is where our utilities are. That's AT&T, it could be Atmos Gas, that's, for us, that's no land. You don't put stuff there. If you have something there and Atmos comes in, they will tear it up. They have to have access to it. So what staff is supporting, if y'all decide, is to allow them to put the fence along that utility easement line, not encroaching into the easement, and then go back in towards the house. If you're on Aspen, you're going to see a lot of windows. It's just going to add some protection for that homeowner. So the future homeowner that buys that, they're not going to have just direct access from Aspen to somebody just to walk right up, right to their window. So, y'all have any questions on, oh, we still got open, I'm sorry. We're still public, we're still open, right?
Mm-hmm.
Public hearing. Mike, you want to come up now, or do you want to wait for the discussion after? You can come up now. Okay.
I guess the only thing that I would like to add, good evening, board. Thank you all for letting us be here.
Name, address.
Michael Jobe, I live in 810 Wright Lane in Prosper, Texas. I think Matt did a great job explaining this and where we stand. This particular lot was, obviously it's a unique lot, to say the least, but it's what was developed and delivered to us. As we go through this, This was sold as a build job, so we started from the ground up with a buyer that picked this plan and had this vision. And so we sent this in, submitted it. We did get it approved. Obviously, it was approved at the time incorrectly, and not until we noticed it did we install it. We're getting ready to, we're 2 weeks out from closing this buyer in their new nice home, and then all of a sudden Matt drives by, and I'm glad we called it before a buyer moved in the house. So we're at the right spot here. But as we go through this, we had to hit the brakes, time out. And so I've got a buyer in limbo right now that's waiting to close on this house as we sit here and do this fence. We have gone and removed, in a perfect world, if we could do the blue line, that would be excellent. But as staff has recommended, as Matt was saying, this front fencing here has already all been removed. And we've just stopped it here, just kind of waiting for this meeting to see where we go. So I guess we'll open it up. I don't really have anything else to add, besides, obviously, it's a quick fix for us to scoot it over or leave it here and keep extending it. But my goal is to try to get these buyers in before Christmas is what I'm shooting for. So, I mean, if this is approved, I'm assuming I can move that fence within 3 or 4 days, get a final CO inspection, and I mean, we could make that happen. So that's all I have for this particular case.
Board, now it's open for closed pub.
Well, is anybody here
Does
to
anybody want to speak?
discuss?
Does anybody here have a comment? Yes. Come forward, state your name and address.
Pete Totter, 2800 Sheffield Drive. I'm the HOA president of Abbey Moore. These houses are being developed in our HOA. So we worked with Dries for about 2 years to get this all to work that we can incorporate into Abbey Moore. So I'm here to support them and to say that, these guys are stand-up, and whatever you can approve for them, we would support them. So we are here to.
Do I understand you correctly? You support the wrought iron fence or the wood fence or the?
I would support anything that they set forth and you guys would approve. So I'm here just to support the developer, either way. So,
That's
Yeah,
nice. I mean, we've had other HOAs that have
no,
not agreed with our
I've been-
decisions.
We've been working with them since day one to get them. I guess we're the only HOA that incorporated them into, instead of being a separate HOA, we've pulled them in.
But I will make one correction. That's Abbey Moore, which is actually the next, we have 2 items on here. So that's
Right.
the item number 2.
Okay.
This is item number 1, which is not tied to Abbey Moore. This one's a little
okay.
bit separate. But also in our submittal to the town, when our application came in, we did get a signature from the other, I guess, 6 homeowners that are on this particular street, all in favor of what is here on the screen. So actually at the blue line. So that was submitted to the city. Town.
And none of the other 6 homes have similar wrought iron.
No, so they're more of a
Vision.
traditional front entry,
Right.
standard side yards, not where you can almost drive 100 or 270 degrees around this house.
But just to be clear, so the proposed blue line, and you said you had signatures from the others that are in this development thus far. Trophy Club Drive is on the north side of this picture, right?
That is correct. This is Trophy Club Drive up here.
So
There's a brick wall there.
The blue line, as it cuts through the driveway of this property, that wouldn't really even be visible to passerby on Trophy Club Drive, right? That would
No,
only
sir.
affect those that are in the development.
Right. Did you have
Am I
had
thinking
that
through that
other
right?
aerial? There was in the agenda items.
I'm sorry?
If
Can I
there's
show-
not any other to speak in favor or
Oh, okay.
opposed, then we close the public and then open for discussion.
Okay. I apologize. Does anyone else have comments from the public on this specific thing? Public comments are now closed. Now it has moved on to,
So Tom?
yes,
640.
6:40, yeah. I close public. Board discussion.
Here we go.
All right,
Now you're up.
there we go.
Well, I'll actually jump to this next page. This might give you a little bit of better overview. The lot we're talking about is here. Gives you a clear reference of Trophy Club Drive. The only entrance into this community is here. with 6 homes here. And so the drive gate we're talking about installing is right here. So the only people that really see it are these 2 homeowners and maybe this one.
And of those that you got signatures from, did those 3 provide signatures, or are those still?
Every one of them did.
Okay.
From this lot at the time was not sold, so I don't believe I have that signature, but I've got this one. I've got all of these.
Okay.
And obviously, the current buyer under contract for this house.
And that's signatures for the blue line, not
Yes,
the
sir.
red line.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to think if there are any other communities that have front fenced-in yards
Oh, we've got,
within Trophy Club.
Mr. Hawsey. One of the first, I'd probably only been here 6 months, but Mr. Hawsey, they're on Meadowbrook? Is that correct? Yeah, it's on Meadowbrook, where they put the brick wall and then the fence all the way around all of the properties. So that came to y'all.
The nice thing about this, it is an iron fence. It's not a wooden fence. I drove by it, and the iron fence that's there looks pretty good. But I think it would look better if it was moved back. But we'll see what the board says.
Any other comments from the board? I'm sure we have some.
Has the whole blue been removed, or just part of the blue? Because it says removed on there, but I heard him say something different.
It does say removed, but it's only been removed back to this point right here. We just pulled out this section here.
Okay, so the part that has remained, would that continue to remain, but the red line that staff has suggested, would that connect to that in some way?
What we would have to do is if we go back to, if the blue line is disapproved, then we would remove this remaining fence along this side here, and we would basically just pick it up and scoot it into this red line.
Okay, but there'd still be something going over the driveway to,
No, sir. No, it would stop right here with this, try to get this mouse to work.
okay. So
There's a gate
everything
right
would-
here.
Everything would be removed in that case, okay.
Yeah. I mean, if we can,
So you wouldn't have a driveway gate.
the buyer's request is to have a driveway gate. So, I mean, if we could go back to the red line and just extend it and keep going with the driveway gate, that would,
Across that utility easement would give them, because that's a surveyed straight line on the utility easement, so they would be able to follow that line and just extend that. And just a side note, the reason, yes, I have the power, the ability to say, remove it all, but what they've got right now, if they pulled that up, it's gonna pull up irrigation lines, it's going to cause more, so it's okay for them to wait for y'all's decision before that. So that was kind of the reasoning. They weren't gonna damage anything else out on that curved part of pulling that up. But across here, right along the sidewalk, you can see that there's irrigation, heads all the way down that. So once they pull those up with the concrete, they're gonna pull those lines. That's a lot they'll damage a lot doing that. That's why I said you can hold off until we come to this meeting, so.
Yeah, but an irrigation head takes, what, 30 minutes to replace?
Yeah.
$5.
more than that, but yes.
$20.
If you and I did it, yes. My trades don't charge that.
That's for the part. They were included. Okay, so I hear a couple conversations going here. Let's kind of recap. One, keeping it the blue line. One, putting it at the red line, but continuing it straight across to blend into the curved area. That would then go around and give the homeowner a 100% gated, fenced property. And it would address the issue that you talked about, which would give them the security that people wouldn't be walking in off those windows. Now, people can still see through a wrought iron fence. You're not going to have that much traffic as compared to some other houses that are on the golf course that have that have the wrought iron fence that people can see in pretty regularly. Or we have the idea that we just keep it at the red fence, or red line as a wrought iron. Those are the three.
Yeah.
Now, is that, the blue line, is that the 10-foot utility easement?
Yes, it's on the edge. Yes, it is.
Okay,
It's within the utility easement.
okay.
The blue line's in the utility easement. The utility's between the red and the blue, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So that if the utilities had to get in, they'd have to gain access to the property through the wrought iron.
That is correct. Yes.
If the red were to extend down the easement and to the driveway, could the gate be moved so that the original design is there, but the easement is taken care of?
It could be, exactly. So if we just followed this red line here,
Yeah.
and just continued it to this point, and then went on with the blue, that would work, and it would stay out of the utility easement at that time.
Yep.
The utility easement is 10 feet, and it starts here and just has a radius here, and then a straight line.
May I ask a question of Mr. Cox? Why is the city recommending the red line as opposed to connecting? Because of the front yard gating? Is that, so it's more in keeping with code?
Yes, fences in front yards are not allowed.
Right, okay,
So
perfect.
yes, that's correct.
Okay, just, I didn't know if there was any other issues other than no front yard.
That's it.
Other than, I think it would look better at the red line. That's what I'm saying.
Just and ending at the
The
front,
aesthetics, so,
ending at the end of the house, not going across the driveway.
yes.
Okay. Any other comments? I'm not talking in the mic, I know, sorry.
Can we make a motion?
Sure.
Motion to approve the red line to the blue so that they can continue to have the gate go across the driveway.
I'll second that.
You'll second it? Okay. Any comments on this?
I guess the only comment I would have is understanding, it's hard without actual pictures of it, but if we're approving the red up through the driveway, like what's the real difference? Obviously, there's space and the utility easement from just keeping it as the blue line currently is. Like, it feels like that's a minimal amount of movement, but a kind of a lot of work to do it. And I don't really know what we're preserving by doing that. And that just might be my own, I'm asking, you know? Because if Atmos needs to go out there, that's on the homeowner, or I guess maybe the developer. They're going to do what they're going to do. So it's not, I guess I'm just curious what the issue would be with the blue line all the way through instead of the red in y'all's minds.
Well, the red line is more in line with the ordinance, for one. And you provide some green space between the sidewalk and the fence. Otherwise, you're being on the sidewalk, and it'd be right next to a fence.
But so is that true? Is there no green space
No.
on the blue line?
No, if you're walking down the sidewalk, you're just running your hand down the wrought iron. The fence sits right on the sidewalk.
And there is sidewalk there?
There is
Yes,
sidewalk.
yes.
There's maybe,
So-
I'm guessing off the top of my head, 12 inches to 18 inches from the edge of the sidewalk to the current 6-foot wrought iron fence there today.
Okay. And someone remind me what the delta is between the blue and the red?
10 feet.
10 feet.
10 feet, okay. Then I think someone already seconded it, but I would
Yeah.
second your motion.
Okay, we have a motion, we had a discussion on the motion, and now it's call for a vote. All in favor of the motion as presented, which is run a wrought iron fence along the red line and continue it through the front yard with gates. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, can't, no, it's unanimous. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Hopefully that will make everyone happy.
By Christmas.
Yeah, yeah.
Be happy, for sure.
Yeah, I thought negotiations, both parties are supposed to be upset. No. Motion number 2, case number ZBA 24-0052517 Iris Drive. Conduct a public hearing and consider action regarding a request made by Drees Custom Homes LLP for a variance to allow for a fence to be extended along the side of the building, property to the building line at the property line of the side yard adjacent to a side street at 2848 Iris Drive, Trophy Club, Denton, Texas. Time being 6:51, I open public hearing.
Okay, good evening again. So the exact same reason that staff could not approve the previous one is the same reason for this. So this one is a lot easier on the explanation, though. So we've got a lot, no house. We're preemptively trying to get this done. So as of right now, the red line would be one of the requests. You've also got, I cannot see that color, it's green. Yeah, so the yellow line is what the buyer would be requesting. So it's similar to on Aspen. They'd like to extend the fence all the way out to that property line out there to the sidewalk and run it along the sidewalk and then turn back in. That would give them the most maximum amount of space. The green line would be similar to the line on the previous one. That's your utility easement. And then the red line is their build line, so they can absolutely put that on the build line. So that's the request. Again, Mike is here if you've got any other suggestions on that one.
As Matt said, this home actually did just start construction, but what we did is we went ahead and just permitted it to meet city standards at this point to get it moving forward so we can start construction on the home, and wanted to have this because we knew this was going to come up. See if this next picture, this gives you a little bit better representation. It's this lot on the corner here, and when you come in Iris, it comes right this direction, makes roughly a 90 here and comes by. So it is the side fence that you're driving into. The difference here is this is a wood fence that the buyer's currently looking to do, not a wrought iron fence, because this is definitely a privacy issue, as everybody would come through, and if it was wrought iron, they'd be looking into the backyard there. So I will jump back to this one, and like I said, the buyer would like to keep it all the way out here along the sidewalk. That would be option 1, their favorite. Option 2 would kind of be this green line here, which is 10 foot in on the utility easement. Option 3, which is we're allowed to do as of today.
Public comments. Yep.
I apologize, I misspoke last time. So this is an Abbey Moore. I'm Pete Totter, 2800 Sheffield Drive. I'm the HOA president, so whatever you gentlemen agree to, we will support. Just same statement as before, but, because I know we did a similar situation. Mr. Singh's house, the first house in, he wanted an 8-foot privacy fence. He had to come get a variance. He got it. Dries put up 8-foot security privacy fence for the entire perimeter, about 1,200 feet for our HOA, which was very nice. So 6 or 8, I don't know how tall it's going to be, 6 or 8 feet, but we would support that. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Board comments? Or, no, wait a minute. I got to say, any more public comments? Public comments are closed. I get
6:55.
6:55, thank you. Thank you, Steve, I appreciate that. We didn't do this before, all these timing things. Okay, I closed at 6:55, board discussion.
Good luck finding this with your Google map.
Yeah.
Iris is not on there yet.
No, sir.
I guess I have a question with regards to sight lines with a wooden fence that close to the street. Because you're going to be kind of curving around it, right?
Yes, sir, you can see the street as you were, let's say you were leaving.
Right,
You know,
right.
You're going to be coming out this way, but as you come in, and what Mr. Cox was speaking about, this is Mr. Singh's house where this fence was
Yep.
approved earlier on. I don't really know that the line of sight, because they're stopping it back around here. I don't think there's any line of sight impairment rounding that corner, because it is held back from the street.
Yeah, so we've already looked at that on the plat, and there's not a sight line. It would meet, because we've got that 30-foot triangle, and so
Okay.
we're good there.
Just a thought.
You say the green line would be okay, sightline-wise.
Yes, that's correct.
Was there a staff recommendation on this?
The green line,
The green line was?
Yes.
Okay.
And the green line is 10-foot easement.
yes, sir,
It's 10 foot beyond the easement.
yes.
All right.
Right. I mean, it's a long wall, close to the road. The HOA approves it. Obviously, you would hope that it would be well-maintained for, wooden fences need to be maintained or they start to look rat-tattered, for lack of a better word. Especially with that means at the entrance to this community. That'll be on the homeowner and the neighbors holding everyone accountable, I guess. Sidewalk will be there as well, and they'll have a 10-foot from the sidewalk to the fence, or the sidewalk's in the 10-foot, right?
Correct. You would have, if you go to the green that's being recommended at this point by the staff, that would give you 10 foot of space, green space between the edge of the sidewalk and the fence.
Along the bottom there, it says iron return with gate. So would that be a wooden that goes into an iron gate?
That is correct. That's what, they were just wanting the privacy of cars driving around the corner.
So the iron would be in basically the front of the house.
That is correct.
So the wood fence is really just for the people coming around the corner that, yeah.
Correct. Headlights, all that kind of stuff.
Well, even if they went to the red one, you'd still have that fence versus putting in shrubbery to sit there and hide the lights, headlights, if you will. I think I support the green line. It does give you space off the road, off the sidewalk. It gives the homeowners, because you're going to have headlights, and, whether they have kids, dogs, whatever, people using that backyard, the privacy is, and the additional space would be a nice add-on to that backyard, to that whole lot.
Is this a sold home?
This is.
The buyers are requesting this? This is part of their feedback?
That is correct. They originally requested the yellow, and at that time, that's what we were submitting to get permitted on when all of this kind of popped up. This is a phase that's further behind, so we're just at plumbing or a foundation stage on this house.
I think it'll be a nice neighborhood if you could just find it.
Yeah,
Field trip.
yeah.
I'd make a motion.
Second, anybody?
What was the motion?
Yeah, what's the motion?
I'll make a motion. Motion to allow a variance for the fence to be extended along the side of the property to the building line at the property line of the side yard adjacent to a side street on the 10-foot utility easement at 2848 Iris Drive, Trophy Club, Texas.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Perfect.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Okay. Next case, ZBA, and we have a couple people that are going to make comments on this case, number 5. Okay. Case number ZBA 24-003, 213 Iverness Drive. Conduct a public hearing and consider action regarding a request made by Nova Quality Builds LLC on behalf of the homeowners Mike and Tanya Gao, for a variance on zoning regulations to allow for a garage to face the street at 213 Iverness Drive, Trophy Club, Denton County, Texas. Time being 7:01, I open the public hearing. Staff report.
Okay. Okay, so background is in my department, we receive all the permits, we're doing code enforcement, we're doing plan review. So permit was dropped off for a remodel at this address on Inverness. And when we were going over the plans and looking at the first thing that we saw was there was a garage on part of this remodel. At the end of the driveway, how they had reconfigured that now you've got a garage door that faces the street. So under R11 zoning, garages facing the street, it's not allowed. I've got it here for garages. Attached garages shall not face any public dedicated right-of-way or golf course. Detached garages shall comply with section 1402-253, and that's for accessory structures and uses. So what the homeowners and the applicant, what they're requesting is to be able to do the remodel, and it's a very large remodel, which would allow for the garage to be at the end of the driveway, which would then face the street. Again, we've got some pretty good photos. So this is the house as is. And I can flip back and forth just to kind of show you. So, this is the plat, and so it shows the lot and square footage and all that. So this would be the roof, overhead after the remodel, the proposed remodel that they're requesting. So you can see, just going back, you can kind of see the extension of the garage, and then also on the right-hand side, you can also see the extension of the house. One other photo, this is showing what's going to be demoed prior to, and then the remodel. And then they actually had color renditions, so this would be one of the renditions of the final product. The homeowners are here. What they're basically requesting is to allow the garage to face the street. We've already done a minor plan review. So on these, we don't just see something, say, nope, this goes to ZBA and toss it. So we will kind of go through other things. We haven't done such a review that if y'all approve this, then tomorrow we stamp approved on it. We do have a few other, small items. But for the most part, lot coverage, we'd gotten an email earlier today on lot coverage. They're plenty good. Currently, they're at 15% lot coverage. With this remodel, it gives them to 26% lot coverage, and they're up. And this R11 is allowed up to 35%. So they got plenty of room. On Inverness, there's only one house that even has a similar thing. It's a detached garage. I believe it's 223 Inverness. We did see, and we know it's on Phoenix, and it's still in that R11 zoning, We counted about 4. Some of these are cul-de-sac lots that, they're unique lots that almost a garage facing the street's really the only way to have it. But we counted about 4 in this R11 zoning, this particular area. So with that, I've got, again, I said that the applicant here, I believe, Chris with Nova is here, and then the homeowners, Mike and Tanya. We've been discussing with them over the last couple of months. They've been, and it's hard, again, it's hard sometimes to get these meetings together and get a quorum, so they've been really patient with us as well. But they're also here to speak and ask, any questions. So if y'all got a presentation at the moment, or we can close the public hearing. And, but also, if we've got anybody that'd like to speak for or
We do
against
have
as
some
well.
comments.
Okay.
But we haven't, we closed this, are you going to make a presentation or anything? The homeowners?
I'm just going to say real quick.
Okay, come on up, state your name.
Hi, I'm Tanya Goff. I, like Steve, grew up here in Trophy Club. Married a Marine, moved away for 30 years. And he decided to bring me back home. My parents are aging. I need to come back and help them out. And so this is it. This is our house. I'm adding on it to make it my dream house, and I'm not leaving. So this is a done deal for us. Like I said, this is the final place for us to be. So that's where I wanted you guys to understand that, we're not doing this to flip. We're not doing this for any other reason other than I'm here and I'm home and I'm staying. So that's what I wanted to say.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Yeah. Does, applicant presentation is complete. You have anything else? Does anyone wish to speak in favor of this?
My name is Victor Ramirez. I'm the designer on this project. Address, 120 Lake Park, Waxahachie. So on this project, when we first took it on, looking at the garage arrangement, the way it is, it's a side entry garage, and backing in and out with today's vehicles, that's one of the reasons that we were trying to consider a different placement for the garage. On the lot itself, even if we wanted to turn it to the side, there's no way to park the deal. So facing it forward and as far back away from the street, we thought would give it enough distance. I mean, we're about 75 feet from curb to the face of the garage doors. So there are other things that we've talked about that we could do, but this is what the owner wishes, that, like if we pushed it as far back as we can, gave them the 3-car garage that they would like, that's kind of what we've approached, and that's been a major staple in kind of like designing around, trying to get the garage to work with the additions that they wanted as well. So.
Thank you. Yep. So you did consider other alternatives to be in compliance, is what you're saying, and
Yes.
it doesn't work?
Yes, sir.
Perfect, perfect. Anyone else in support or favor? Okay, we're closing that area. Does anyone wish to speak in opposition? And I believe I have 2 people here that would like to speak. The first one is Ms. Patricia Pat Keffer. Please state your name and address, and if you have a prepared thing, I'm sure that they would love to have that prepared thing handed over, so for minutes.
Can I give it to you after I read it?
Oh, yeah, no, yeah.
Oh, good. It just keeps me on topic. And first, thank you all for your service to the community. For the record, my name is Pat Kiefer. My husband and I have lived at 216 Fresh Meadows since 1984, which means we're getting really, really old. And We just renovated, and this is our forever home. With respect to 213 Inverness, it takes a lot to get me out of the house during the dinner hour and leave my husband alone. But the negative impacts of this request really rose to that level. We've lived directly across the golf course from 213 Inverness for 40 years. We are somewhat outside the notification area, so I didn't know about this until this morning, but we are directly and negatively impacted by the request. As I typed this public comment, I stared directly at the rear of 213 Inverness. The request for hardship relief was noticed, as I said, this morning. Since we aided and managed the care for my wheelchair-bound father-in-law, we are very empathetic with the challenges of caring for aging relatives and accommodating their needs. We found that our home would not accommodate the needs for my father-in-law, and we had to make other arrangements for them. As I took the 2 photos that I sent to your city email IDs today, about 2:30, a car drove into the driveway and seemed to directly access the garage with 0 difficulty. I hope that the 2 photos that I sent were helpful to you in your understanding of the situation. But from my viewpoint, the 2 larger issues are, number 1, risk of being unable to maintain the water line that runs on the west edge of the property. There are 2 water lines that run between Inverness and the 78 home Fresh Meadow, Seminole, Fairway Village, Village Way, Gentry Court neighborhood. One of them runs down the west side of this property, across the golf course, and down the west side of our property on 216 Fresh Meadow. In the event that this water line needs maintenance or needs to be replaced, the difficulty of doing that will be magnified by having a structure exactly on the easement line, particularly if the easement line is not 100% accurate in being right over the water line itself. Having been here for a long time, I can tell you that some city services, like a stormwater drain that was supposed to be in the street in front of our house, actually went through our front yard. So I'm pretty familiar with not always the way it looks on the diagram. The second water line of exactly the same age as the water line I just referenced is in the process of being replaced on Forest Hill Drive and on Inverness. So in my opinion, the need of maintenance for the future abutting water line that is right on their property line at 213 Inverness is higher than if the water line was also replaced at this time. And it's not being replaced, so risk is just that much higher. Number 2, there is nearly a 100% risk of garage flooding as water drains from the front of the property to the rear. I headed the 2012 stormwater study that was done for our property on Fresh Meadow. And let me just say that I spent probably 100 to 200 hours watching water come off of the hill across Inverness, across the golf course, and on to Fresh Meadow, where it flooded our neighbors' homes. Fortunately, we didn't flood. But because of that work, I'm very sensitive to how the water flows and what floods. The retaining wall that abuts the driveway was not shown in the main picture that was in the staff report that I saw, but it was visible in the photos that I sent in this afternoon. In my opinion, the garage will flood because there's no other place for the water to go. I verified the slope by walking it this afternoon. Number 3, The application stated that there are other forward-facing garages in the neighborhood. Well, the only part of the neighborhood that I walk is on Inverness. And today on Inverness, there are no forward-facing attached garages on Inverness itself, either the portion that runs between Forest Hill and Indian Creek or the portion that runs between Indian Creek and Trophywood Drive. I drove it here today, just to make sure. There is a forward-facing, barely detached accessory building used as a garage on Inverness at 223 Inverness. It also faced objections at the time that it was approved. That garage regularly floods and presents a very poor aesthetic to everyone on the golf course because it has a window air conditioning unit that is clearly visible. The cluttered garage door is often open and presents very poor curb appeal to anyone who walks by or drives by that home. Further, that owner complained to the town about the self-inflicted flooding, and now the town is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars of grant funds to fix the flooding. Drainage is a real problem. Inverness, number 4, Inverness and Fresh Meadow Homes were built before Trophy Club became a town. The neighborhood was designed to have open green space between the homes for drainage as well as aesthetic purposes. I've spoken about the drainage, and the requested garage would entirely block the green space view that I have from my home of Inverness and beyond today. We walk Inverness Drive twice a day on our normal daily 3-mile walk. The requested garage would entirely block the green space view of the golf course and would present a poor aesthetic to the neighborhood whenever it is open. And number 6, it is unknown whether the stockade fence that faces the golf course is in compliance with the fencing zoning requirements. Normally, stockade fences are not allowed. I don't know whether the distance from the golf course has any bearing in this situation or not. In closing, I ask that the request for zoning adjustment for a forward-facing attached garage be denied because of the 6 stated objections.
Thank you, Ms. Kiefer. I'm sure you would like the copy? Yeah. Sure. Well, I'm getting it.
Words and music in addition to.
Okay, next up is Ben Brewster. Mr. Brewster, please come up and state your residence, address, and your comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Ben Brewster. I live at 222 Fresh Meadow Drive. We've been a resident there for 37 years. And we know Fresh Meadow and we know Inverness very well. I'm going to first say that I underscore or approve and underscore everything that Pat Kiefer just delivered to the board. I was on the board at one point, and saying no to these kinds of requests is very difficult. But in this case, I'm going to ask your consideration in either tabling this and moving it to the P&Z or the council for further consideration of rezoning, or to deny it. I'm sympathetic to seniors. This month, I'm 83 years old, and I've noticed that the state of Texas is taking a great interest in my driving abilities, and I'll be taking a driver test at the end of 2025. So we have had a 90-degree garage arrangement for 37 years. I don't have any paint on my mirrors yet. My wife's got a little bit of a problem there. The garages on Fresh Meadow, if you take a drive, are all 90-degree. And the way we were zoned, this subdivision was designed, it was designed with 90-degree garages, Fresh Meadow and Inverness, and the aesthetics were a key part of that. I think the rendering that the applicant has given is stunning, but it doesn't fit the design and the feel of the neighborhood, either on Inverness or Fresh Meadow Drive. So with that, I thank you for considering our thoughts on this.
Thank you. Any further public comments in opposition? Time being 7:21, I close the public discussion. Board discussion is now open. Anybody?
Well, when I looked at the rendering, I was supposing that garage looked more than a two-car garage. It's definitely a three-car garage. And when you have a three-car garage, I hope you don't have a three-car garage door. Maybe that garage door would be split up into two separate doors, like one double door and one single door. And by breaking it up, that would help with the aesthetics, looking at it straight on. And my opinion is that it's so far back that I don't like front-facing garages, believe me. And I think that's what makes Trophy Club great. But this garage is so far back, it's almost like, well, if it's a hardship for the applicant, then, you know, and there is the detached garage just down the street that looks like it's an attached, but it's not, I guess. That's front-facing. So there is that exception. So, yeah, but hearing the objections to this case, I'm going to go with not having any more front. I think in the design, you could design this garage by turning it 90 and having a J entry garage. It may not fit the plans for the extra room that they need, but I think it would be possible. I think it should be looked at anyway. Anyway, that's really all I have to say.
Okay.
Matt, if there wasn't a garage door here, would the buildings, like if just a structure without the garage door, would those be within the ordinances
Yes,
on the right and the left?
yes.
So the green space comments about not being able to see the golf course, we're really just talking about whether there's a garage
That's
door
correct.
facing the street. And it's a three-car garage?
I believe it.
It's two, like 2.5, because it's 2-car and a golf cart building.
Okay, so like a 2.5.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's kind of like my garage because I have a 2-car garage, but I have room for a golf cart on the right-hand side. So, and I don't have a garage door for that. So a 2-car garage door, and it allows me space for my golf cart or my little repair shop I've got there. So that's a possibility.
Matt, obviously, y'all have looked into this from a neighborhood perspective, both the Inverness houses and the Fresh Meadow ones, about these flooding notions. I mean, to Steve's point, if the house is within the build line, regardless, it's on the owner, right? If there's water pooling or anything that were to happen to the garage, like, is that a town concern? It doesn't feel like it is.
So a little bit loaded question, but our staff, and we work with our engineers a lot, there are plans that come across. We had a swimming pool about 3 weeks ago that normally you just stamp approved and go. But the more we looked at it, and then we started looking at the elevations of that pool in relation to the neighbors behind, we sent it to engineering, and then we required an engineered drainage letter from that pool builder to give to us, saying that there would not be any more excess water going right, left, or behind. So we do take these case by cases. We have not looked too in-depth on this, because you've got a red flag that comes up on the very first rendering, the first page we see. So we do have more details to look into, and if we see something that looks like it should be addressed, we're not just going to not let the homeowner or the contractor know on that. So, but is it required? No. We would not require engineered drainage and grading, on something like this. The flow goes to the golf course. So that's the obvious, everything on Inverness, all those homes, they are flowing from front to back to the golf course on that side of the street.
I've got a quick question, Matt. The ordinance on front-facing garages, can you give me some background, and have we ever allowed people to do that?
So we have all different areas of town, that if you look at our zoning map, we have more PDs in this town. It's specific to different areas. You can go to the northern area of town, when they were talking about Abbey Moore, every house, every single home has front facing. So it's depicted on lot sizes. Those are smaller lots. It just makes more sense. Again, the reason that it comes to you is because this falls into R11, this particular area, and it says it's not allowed. So this house and other areas and very nearby, we would not be bringing this to you. It would just, we'd go through the full permitting process and they'd start building. So does that answer your question? This house in this neighborhood, in this R11 zoning is the reason why.
Okay, and so we've never given permission for a front-facing garage in,
Oh, no,
We've granted zoning variances for it. It's just based on the regulations. It can't be approved by building.
so what are the reasons for variances on them?
I'm not following.
If you're asking why we
Why
agreed
would
to
you
something.
grant
In the past, I think you're thinking the same one I am. We agreed to it because there was something like 20 out of 40 houses had front-facing garages. So it blended with the community or the neighborhood, really. It was an easy push. In this instance, the numbers are not as evident saying front-facing garages are commonplace. I mean, maybe the word is commonplace versus, an outlier. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. When I look at this, I'm wondering, is this an HOA? No HOA, so you don't have an architectural review that would sit there and say this house is not in keeping with the neighborhood?
That's correct.
I'm wondering, would it be possible to ask them to go back to their design engineer and see if they can make this acceptable to our codes? So they'd have the space and their garage space and not have front-facing garage?
Yeah, given we're working pretty much with a blank remodel, they're going down to pretty much studs, it looks like, or maybe they're keeping some things, but generally.
Yeah, ballpark, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, what's the square footage now is 2,200, and I think they're adding on like 1,900. It's.
Square footage is 3,500, and we're only adding on roughly 1,000, or just over 1,000 square foot.
Yeah, okay,
So a third.
yeah.
Part of me, I like two different, comments. I like that one, but also I'm wondering about the engineer study. While there is, the water would kind of flow back into their garage, which would be detrimental. But, water today is just, it's a challenge. I mean, we don't have a rain for 3 months, and then we have a 5, 20, 30-year storm, or whatever that number is, and it comes down in buckets. Now, that's far enough down, as you were saying, down the road, or off the road, that it shouldn't be a challenge to Inverness as a street. But it still goes back to a front-facing garage in an area that is lacking a large number of them. I know that the designer is here, and he has said that they tried everything about finding, in his closing, or in his opening comment. But I personally would encourage a relook.
May I? I'm sorry, I know I'm not supposed to, but may I?
No, you can.
You can go.
No, it's open for discussion.
So in the design, the reason why we've made it forward-facing is that the garage as it's built is built for 1979 cars. Like, we haven't even bought a second car yet because we can't fit 2 cars into that garage as it is currently built. So our initial design was just to extend it further back and keep it as a design. But as my parents have aged, and the thought that having to move them in, like I know they said, we wanted to add a downstairs main bedroom that is wheelchair accessible if possible. And so that is another reason why we extended the driveway out. And it's also to make it larger, because if we put it on the side, we're not taking as much advantage of the lot as we possibly could. And so our goal here was to make it aesthetically as pleasing as possible for the street. Now, I know the young lady over here was like, there's only one. There's actually 2 houses that have forward-facing garages on the street. There's one directly across from me that has a forward-facing garage. It is detached, but it is a forward-facing garage, and there is another one further down the street. I have photos if you need to see those. But besides the point, I'll make that an all-window, front-facing garage door if that makes it more aesthetically pleasing. I mean, I'll do whatever aesthetically pleasing is necessary for that garage door to make it so that it is pleasing to the eye from the street. So I'll do what is necessary. But again, we have looked at so many, we did multiple designs to try and keep it side, but we were going to be unable to obtain our ultimate goal of having a downstairs main bedroom. So that was why this is the design that has come forward.
Matt, can we ask questions?
Sure.
Yeah. Have you spoken with any of your neighbors about this?
My neighbors across the street are all, we had a neighbor street party, whatever, and they're all on board. I don't have statements from them. If I had known that that was part of it, I would have asked them to come. But they all also have designs of things that they want to do that are somewhat similar to what we're doing. But I don't have that in writing, so I don't want to put anyone on the spot for that. But that was one of our discussions on our neighborhood.
Didn't the training say we have subpoena power? Bring them up here.
As to the water line, they replaced 15 feet of the water line between my property and my neighbor's property just recently. They replaced 15 feet, and so from there I know exactly where the water line is. And my contractor is aware of it, and we will be ensuring that we're still in variance, very far from the water line to make sure that if that is ever eventually repaired, they have plenty of room to work with. And as for the drainage part of it, she's right, we have a ton of water that comes through. And again, my contractor is fully aware of it, and they have incorporated, we're going to be doing multiple drainage in order to ensure that it's not going into the garage. So, I mean, we've tried to address.
We also have a civil engineer that's done drainage studies on it as well, and we have options that we can do, so, that's
It's being looked at.
what we've already.
There's also a green belt behind the property. It's very hard to see across the golf course.
Yeah, we've got a row of trees, so.
Could you make this garage a little shorter?
Like as in shorter.
In other words, make it a two-car garage, and on the left-hand side, make that masonry or some other architectural,
We can make it a true two-car garage door. Yes, sir. we
Yeah.
can.
okay?
Come up and speak.
Chris Martinez, 2009 Redinson, Carrollton. We do have a Plan B drawing, which was to shorten that garage by an additional 5 feet. For the drainage, we do have a drainage system that would be going in place in multiple spots between the easement and the house.
So it's not, I think the designer said it was an option, so the drainage is definitely going to be addressed, is what you're saying? Okay.
There was actually an updated drawing that was sent today from the engineer. We just didn't have a chance to get that in yet.
And Steve, that is part of our plan review, is at least, on the easements, maintaining those easements, whether they're water lines easements or drainage easements. That's part of our plan review.
Right.
Always, so,
So Matt, y'all would be receiving those reports they're talking about?
yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure.
And with my background, I'm not also just a contractor. I also do structural consulting. We also do consulting with FEMA and the Corps of Engineers. So I have extensive background with coastal shorings and drainage systems.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that if they shorten this garage, it can make everybody happy by 5 feet.
One other comment I wanted to make, I pulled up just like a live, I don't know what this is, Google Earth image of basically what we're looking at. And it's, in my opinion, the proposal is more palatable when you actually look at it. Their driveway, it appears to sit about 4 feet lower than their left side neighbor. So on the image, the rendering, it looks kind of front and center. I'm just looking at where it would be, and it would be very much removed from the street and not obstructing to any of their neighbors, or so it appears. So, because I agree, I think if the image is what it is and it's a 3-car, then it's like, all right, that might be a little bit flagrant. But looking at it, and if we can get approval that it would be 2, to me, I think personally that checks all of the boxes that I would need to hear.
Steve, you've been quiet.
Well, I drove by the property today before the meeting, and I did look for other houses in the neighborhood that matched the style, and I just couldn't find one. So it would be a really, and part of our board is to look for a hardship, and I'm having trouble finding one. So that's where I stand right now, but I can be swayed.
You're referring to the architectural design?
I mean, we're really not voting on whether or not this house is expanded, but whether or not they have a front-facing garage door.
Right. Aaron?
I've always had a hard time telling people what to do with their houses. And I know what the owner is thinking. A 90-degree turn into your garage can be a chore and a hardship if you have elderly parents. I don't know if they're driving or not. I don't see a problem with it myself, especially considering I think there may be 1 or 2 other areas that have it. I have a hard time saying no to somebody who would want that.
All right. Seems we have
We make a motion?
make a motion.
All right, I would move to approve the front-facing garage as proposed with the caveat that it be limited to a two-car garage. The garage itself could be the size for a two-car plus a car, but the door be limited to a two-car garage. I guess that would be the motion.
I'd second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Nay.
Nay.
Three. So two in favor of the, and now do we sit there and keep it conversation for another person to make a proposal, or that is, we just made a decision that we have, okay. Okay, at this time, I guess the request is denied. All right. Case number 6. Conduct a public hearing and consider action regarding a request made by Kelly and Amy Nolan for a variance to allow the existing encroachment in the rear yard setback and request for proposed addition to the residential structure located at 8 Pin Oak Court, Trophy Club, Denton, Texas. Okay, and the time is 7:41. Time being 7:41, I open for public hearing.
Okay, this is just kind of a fun one. So what we've got is, sorry, page off. So 8 Pin Oak Court, house was built a long time ago. We've got ordinances and zoning that was put in place after the house was built. So currently, that zoning, you have a 25-foot rear setback. And currently, the garage is 16 feet already encroaching. So you've got 16 foot from the rear property line. So here's the homeowners, their request. They've got currently a deck in the backyard. And they would like to enclose the deck. So it's one of those that I could very easily approve this at the staff level and say, this makes common sense. You've already got a garage that's passed. You're not encroaching anymore. But by the letter of the law, and at the staff level, we discussed this in length. I was like, this really needs to go to ZBA. It's, even though I can make this decision and it probably would never kick back, technically, it needs to come to you. So that's what we're doing. We've got, we pulled up on our Bluebeam on our apps to be able to give you an exact scale. So currently, the garage is 16 feet, 7 inches off. They would like to extend, or they'd like to demo the deck and then build nice, covered, enclosed, tied into the roof line, which would be about 20 feet off of the rear property line. And ultimately, that's their request. We've already got the plans, we've seen them, they look great. The applicant's here, and if you've got any other further questions, but again, this is one of those, it truly, very hard to explain on paper, but when you see it, you've just got what we call pre-existing, non-conforming, and so it's already there. Nobody's asking to remodel anything or extend anything further. They're just wanting to use the backyard space that they've already currently have. I'm here for any other questions, and then they are here as well, and then you can open up for.
Do we ask you questions now?
Let's
have them, yeah.
If they've got anything to say, and then you can open it up for anybody else that wants to opposed or for it.
For or against, yeah. One at a time. Or unless you do.
You want to go first?
Y'all can come up together.
Yeah, you can come, yeah.
We can come together? Sure. You want me to go first? Okay.
Hi, I'm Amy Nolan. I live at 8 Pin Oak Court in Trophy Club. We've lived there for almost 28 years. It's our first house and hopefully our last house. One reason why we'd like the room, we're going to build like a nice sunroom, and we want it to be kind of large because I have arthritis really bad, and I want to be able to use like either an electronic wheelchair or like a scooter in the area. And when you have furniture, if you just want to have people over and you're trying to navigate in a room with a scooter or a wheelchair, it's pretty rough without damaging your things and still having enough room for the people. So we want to make the room, you know, a nice size so that I'll have room to navigate the space with a wheelchair or a scooter. And we're going to have to bring like our kitchen table into the space as well as like a sofa and some chairs, because our back door is at the back of our dinette area where the kitchen table is, so you can't even get a scooter through there to the back door to where the new room would be. We'd have to get that table out of there. We could probably put like a little bistro set there. But, I mean, if you have anyone over who wants to sit with you, you know what I'm saying? Our house is not an open concept house. It only has one living space currently, unlike most Trophy Club homes that have 2 or 3. So this room's going to be very important to us as we age. It's be a nice and bright room, and the room, our house is a northwest facing home, and it doesn't, the windows all across the front don't get any direct sunlight to the house, so it's a very dark, the living space at the front is very dark. So this sunroom is very important to us to get more light into our, you know, future as we age, and it's going to be a lovely living space, and we just like it to be nice and navigable with, you know, help assistance, you know.
Get this back to you. Yeah, I just wanted to add, like it's Matt, correct? Yeah. The current deck is 16 feet, and the length is just under 27 feet. And so we basically just want to remove that, extend it out 4 feet on the width, length stays the same, and just incorporate it into the house. Again, you know, you grew up here. My parents lived here for 40 years. We moved here in '83 until they passed just last year. And so we've been here too, so it seems like there's a lot of lifers of Trophy Club people that don't want to go anywhere. So that's one of the things, we just want to make sure that we have a little bit more living space on the ground floor, because the current deck, when you enclose it in with walls and everything else, it ends up becoming another galley, which was really tight. So we have a den, a galley kitchen as it is right now. Another galley next to it would be just the same problem that you have with navigation. So that's why we put it to you guys to see if you let us make the extension.
I'd like to just say one more thing, if I could. I wanted to talk a little bit about the neighbors that live behind us and what you see from the backyard with them, just in case there's any concerns there. If you look out our back door, where our deck is, where we want to put the room, we have 2 homes that are back there. One is way off to the left, and what's back there is a rear-facing garage with a big driveway back there, and it's a rent house. So it's just a rear-facing garage that faces our garage from the back. So, and then the other home, it's their driveway right in the middle part, and on the right side, they have a big pool, so their house is set way back on the other side of the pool. So, and then they have a big deck around the pool. So it's not like we're right up on the neighbors' homes, just so you know about that too.
And they have an 8-foot privacy fence for their pool.
Yeah, we didn't put that up. They put it
wouldn't-
up, so.
And then we have talked to the neighbors, but again, we didn't get anybody signed off, but everybody knows what our plans are, and they,
We didn't talk to the people behind us, but the people next to us, no, they said they're
all
fine.
on the street say they're fine, because it's all hidden behind trees. It's very wooded.
But the neighbors behind would have received notice, right? Okay.
Yeah, we didn't receive any.
Yeah. And, but I didn't say Kelly Nolan, 8 Pin Oak Court at the beginning, so
Yeah.
make it official.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Does anyone wish to speak in favor? See only 2 people out there. Does anyone speak in opposition? Okay, time being 7:49, I close the public discussion. Board discussion. Questions, anybody?
I just want to make sure I'm understanding what exactly the request is. So it's a current deck that would be leveled, rebuilt, but with kind of continuing roof line from the house? And it would just encroach a little bit on the 25-foot setback?
Exactly.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, easiest way to explain this. You've already got an encroachment. So in really all of this area, technically, if it's behind this line, you're not further encroaching anything that's already been encroached. So that's why for us, it's one of those that we're looking at it going, we could just stamp approved and get it. And so, but again, by the letter of the law, bring it to y'all. So staff has absolutely no objection at all to this.
It
And-
is.
And we have these all over town.
Oh,
This type of encroachment, it's all over. Because once the new zoning things, there's dozens of homes like this. So,
I guess I have two comments. Number one, you're going from a deck to a structure, so you have a little bit of mass encroachment that you had that wasn't there. But as we have just heard and I saw, there is a garage, it's not that the backyards are going to be there. I guess my question is, and I'm not wishing this on anybody, is in the event the house sells and someone decides to, tear down and build, they would have to go back to all zoning regulations. They wouldn't be
That's correct.
grandfathered into anything that said,
that's correct. If they demoed the garage, then they would now have to rebuild the garage and probably have a one-car garage, so that's how that works. So, we've worked with homeowners in the past on, don't completely demo, remodel or, to keep, what you've got, so,
Leave a few studs up.
something, so. But yeah, staff, the plans that we received, this was, absolutely, staff supports this.
And none of this structure is visible from the street.
No, sir.
And do they want to build it any larger? Or it seems to me like they could even build it larger.
Oh, they could. Again, if you look on my cursor, you've already got this back corner of the garage. That's already an encroachment. So if you wanted to come all the way across here and all the way back, you're not encroaching any further than what is already there. So again, we were very content with what, and we're privy to what the plans look like, and they look really good.
And no utility issues.
No, sir.
Why didn't you just stamp it?
I asked them why they even brought it to me. Because, again, we see these, there's remodels that are happening, we just can't see them, but things like this, they happen. So they were just honest and brought it to us.
I could make a motion.
please.
A motion to allow the existing encroachment to extend 4 feet into the rear yard setback for a proposed addition to the residential structure located at 8 Pin Oak Creek, Trophy Club, Texas. Oh, court, okay. Pin Oak Court, excuse me.
Can I make a comment before we vote?
Yes.
Okay, because they only requested 4 feet, but they haven't constructed yet, do we want to consider basically giving a little bit of leeway on that, given the fact that there's already, like, they have more room to play with if they're doing that build? You see what I'm saying? Or,
They're not asking for it.
this is true. Sounds like they wouldn't have needed to.
This meets the plan, again, the plans dropped off to us is what triggered us to be able to bring this to you. So
Okay.
yeah.
So are you saying, instead of saying the feet, say approved per drawing or something to that
Well,
effect?
I mean, we don't have, it doesn't really matter that much. I was just thinking, it seems like asking for 4 feet is going to invite a scenario where a build plan asks for 4.5, and that is technically not in compliance. But if the specs have already been submitted and they are what they are, then they know what they're asking for, I guess, so.
Yeah, we pulled these measurements off of our software to give the exact down to the quarter inch. So we know what it,
Second.
Yeah.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? So variance approved. Thank you. All right. Motion number 7. Consider the approval of January 11, 2024 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting minutes. Hopefully you all read them, or who, I guess there's only 3 of us here that could really vote on it, right, that were here.
no, you can vote on it.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the January 11th, 24?
Yeah,
meeting?
motion to approve the January 11th, 2024 zoning board of adjustment meeting minutes.
Second?
All approved, or all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. It is 7:56, time being 7:56, I adjourn this meeting. Let's take a break so we can